There is a breakfast sitting in kitchens all over the country this morning that just about everyone agrees is the healthy one. Your daughter would nod at it. The box has a little red heart printed on the front, and it may be the exact reason you're worn out by 10:30. I'm Emma Becker. Some of you know my husband from his channel, Dr. Becker. And over here, I take the broader, everyday side of life after 60. So pull up a chair, grab something warm, and stay with me. Because this isn't a scolding and it isn't a scare. It's one of the most fixable things I know. Today's topic is a breakfast that almost everyone in your life would call healthy. Your daughter would nod at it. The cereal box would put a little red heart on it. And it might just be the reason you're tired by 10:30 in the morning. That's not a scare, that's a fixable thing. Let me show you. Here's where I want to start. Most mornings in this country, a woman over 60 sits down to a breakfast she was told, for 50 years, was the good and responsible choice. A bowl of cereal with skim milk, a glass of orange juice, maybe a piece of toast with a little jam, because jam feels gentler than butter. And by the middle of the morning, she is foggy, a little shaky, reaching for a cookie or another coffee, and quietly wondering what's wrong with her body. And here's what your 12-minute appointment never had the time to tell you. In a lot of cases, nothing is wrong with your body at all. Your body is doing exactly what it was built to do. The breakfast is the thing working against you, not because it's poison. I want to be careful here, but because of how fast it turns to sugar in your blood and what your body has to do to clean that up. Now, my authority on this. I want to be straight with you about what it is. I'm a researcher, and I never stopped reading the studies. That's the whole credential, honestly. And I'm a woman your age. I went through my own 50s watching my mornings fall apart and blaming myself for it before I sat down and actually read the blood sugar research instead of the cereal box. So I'm not telling you this from a pedestal. I'm telling you, woman to woman, the way I'd tell my own sister. And here's the reframe, the thing I want you to carry out of today. It isn't that you're getting old and can't handle breakfast anymore. It's that the standard healthy breakfast is built almost entirely out of fast carbohydrates. And a fast carbohydrate is simply a starch or a sugar that your gut breaks down very quickly so it floods your bloodstream all at once. Stay with me, and I'll show you the handful of breakfasts that do this, exactly why they leave you crashing, and this is the part that matters, the simple swaps that fix it. Not expensive, not fancy, things already in your kitchen. If you want this kind of thing, plain, honest, nobody selling you anything, subscribe and stick around. There's a free companion guide down in the description, no strings attached. Now, let's get into it. Let me give you my honest opinion before I show you a single study, because I owe you that. For years, and I mean years, I had this completely backwards. I thought a breakfast was healthy if it was low in fat and came from a box that said whole grain and heart smart. That was the rule I grew up on. Cut the fat, eat the grain, and you'd be fine. And so every morning I ate the cereal and the juice and the toast like a good girl, and every morning by 11 I felt like someone had let the air out of me. I'd get irritable, I'd get a headache behind my eyes, and I assumed that was just me, just my age, just being a tired woman in her 50s. Then I read the work on what happens to blood sugar after a high-carb breakfast, and I felt a little foolish and a little angry, frankly, because no one had ever explained the simplest thing to me, that it wasn't the fat in breakfast I needed to think about after 60. It was the speed of the sugar. And once I understood that one idea, everything about my mornings changed. So let me hand you that same idea, and let me hand it to you a lot earlier than anyone handed it to me. First, let me explain the machine, because if you understand this one thing, every swap I give you will make sense, and you'll never need me to nag you about it again. When you eat a fast carbohydrate, that cereal, that juice, that white toast, it breaks down into glucose, which is just the simple sugar your body runs on, and it pours into your blood quickly. Your blood sugar climbs. Now, your body does not like it high. So it sends out insulin. Insulin is the hormone that acts like a key, opening your cells so the sugar can leave the blood and get stored away. Here's the catch after 60. As we age, a lot of us get a little less sensitive to that key. The lock is stiffer, so the body, trying hard to do its job, sends out a big surge of insulin to force the door. And that big surge can clear the sugar out too well, dropping you lower than where you started. That dip is the crash. That's the shaky, foggy, where's the cookie feeling at 10:30. It's not weakness. It's a spike followed by a dip, and the dip is what's making you miserable. Let me say that more carefully because I want to be fair. Not everyone over 60 has this to the same degree, and a single high dip now and then is not going to harm a healthy woman. But if your mornings are a roller coaster, this is very often the engine underneath it. So let's take the breakfasts that build that roller coaster one at a time and swap each one for something that gives you a gentle hill instead of a cliff. The first one, and I'm sorry because I know it's a friend to a lot of you, breakfast cereal. Even the ones dressed up as healthy. Here's the trouble. By the time a grain has been puffed and flaked and rolled into a crispy little shape that pours out of a box and snaps in milk, most of the slow part of it, the fiber, the structure that would have slowed your digestion down, has been processed right out. So it behaves in your blood almost like spoonfuls of sugar fast. And then there's the added sugar sitting on top, even in the boxes with the leaf on the front and the word natural. I'm not going to name a brand, and I'm not going to tell you a single cereal is evil. That's not honest, and it's not the point. The point is the category. A bowl of dry, processed, sweetened cereal in skim milk first thing in the morning on an empty stomach is about the fastest way I know to launch that spike and crash. Now, here's exactly what to do with that, and it costs you almost nothing. Swap the box for a bowl of plain, old-fashioned oats. Not the instant flavored packets. Those have been processed and sweetened the same way. I mean the slower cooking rolled oats, the ones in the cardboard cylinder your grandmother used. The oat keeps its fiber, especially a kind called beta-glucan, which is a soluble fiber. Soluble just means it soaks up water and turns into a slow gel in your gut. And that gel literally slows down how fast the sugar gets into your blood. Same grain, basically. Completely different ride. And if you want to flatten it even more, stir a spoonful of nut butter or a few chopped nuts into the oats. The fat and protein slow it down further. Pennies a serving. Any supermarket. That's swap number one. Now, that's one. Here's the next. And honestly, it might be the sneakiest one on the whole list because it's the one wearing the best disguise. Orange juice. Or any fruit juice, really, but orange juice is the one that sat on the healthy breakfast table for 100 years. Here is what nobody ever stopped to explain to us. A whole orange is a wonderful thing. It comes with fiber, it comes with all its pulp and structure, and that structure makes your body work to get the sugar out slowly. But the moment you squeeze that orange into a glass, you've thrown away the fiber and kept the sugar. A tall glass of orange juice can be the sugar of 3 or 4 oranges with none of the breaks. And you'd never sit down and eat 4 oranges in 2 minutes, but you'll drink them in 2 minutes without a second thought on an empty stomach first thing. So it pours into your blood about as fast as a soft drink does. I know that's a hard one to hear because it feels so wholesome, and the carton says 100% pure and no sugar added, and all of that is true. It's just that the sugar was always there in the fruit, and now there's nothing left to slow it down. Let me be fair. The way I promised I would, orange juice isn't junk, it has real vitamins, and a small glass alongside a real breakfast is a very different thing than a big glass on its own. But on an empty stomach, by itself, as your morning ritual, it's one of the steepest cliffs there is. So here's the swap, and it's the easiest one of the whole video. Eat the orange. Just eat it. Or any whole fruit. A handful of berries. The frozen kind is perfectly fine and cheaper. Half a banana with something. You get the sweetness, you get the vitamins, and you get the fiber that was always meant to come with it. If you truly love your glass of juice, make it small, half a cup, and never drink it alone. Have it with eggs or oats. So the protein and fiber slow the whole meal down together. That's swap number 2. I'll tell you what I actually do in my own kitchen. Since I'm asking you to change yours, I keep a bag of frozen mixed berries in the freezer at all times. They're a fraction of the price of fresh, they never go bad on me, and a handful goes on my oats most mornings. That's not a special diet. That's just a woman trying to keep her own morning from falling off a cliff. Let me build on that, because the third one is the partner to the juice. They hold hands at the breakfast table all the time. White toast with jam, or a bagel, or a soft white roll. Here's the mechanism, and it's the same villain wearing a different coat. White bread is flour that's been stripped of its bran and its germ. The bran and the germ are the parts of the wheat that hold the fiber and the slow nutrients. What's left is the fast, starchy middle. And starch, I want to be plain about this, is just a long chain of sugar that your gut snips apart very quickly. So white toast, on its own, behaves a lot like the cereal does, fast. And then we paint jam on top of it, which is mostly sugar, and now we've doubled down. Let me say that more carefully so I'm being fair to you. A single slice of toast inside a balanced breakfast is not a crisis, and I'd never tell you to fear a piece of bread. But white toast and jam, alone, with coffee, as the whole meal, that's a spike on a spike. Here's the swap, and you've got 2 easy versions. The first, move to a denser, real whole grain bread, the heavy kind that's actually got seeds and grain you can see in it, not the soft brown loaf that's just white bread with coloring. The real heavy stuff digests slower because the fiber's still in it. And the second, more important fix, change what goes on top. Trade the jam for something with fat or protein. A smear of nut butter, a little mashed avocado, an egg laid right on top. Suddenly, that toast isn't a sugar cliff. It's a slow, steady hill because the protein and fat hold the whole thing back. Same toast, in many cases. Completely different morning. That's swap number 3. Now, I want to stop and tell you about a woman because she's the reason I talk about this the way I do. I sat with a friend last spring. I'll call her Maureen, sharp as a tack, retired bookkeeper, the kind of woman who'd never let a number get past her. And Maureen was convinced something was seriously wrong with her. She told me her mornings had become a misery. She'd eat her good breakfast, her cornflakes and her juice and her toast, sit down to read her paper, and within an hour she'd be foggy, irritable, hands a little unsteady, and so hungry it scared her. She'd been to her doctor. And bless that doctor, but with 12 minutes and a waiting room full of people, the visit came and went, and Maureen walked out feeling like she'd been told it was just her age and to come back in 6 months. So she'd started to believe her body was simply failing her. And when she described it to me, sitting at her kitchen table, I asked her one question. I asked her what she ate. And there it was. The whole roller coaster built right into the breakfast she thought was saving her. We didn't do anything dramatic. I just told her what I'd read. The same thing I'm telling you. She swapped the cornflakes for oats with a spoon of peanut butter. She ate the orange instead of drinking it. She put an egg on her toast. That was it. And about 3 weeks later, she rang me, and I could hear it in her voice. She said, "Emma, I have my mornings back. I'm not foggy. I'm not shaky. I'm not scared of 11 o'clock anymore." And here's the part that stuck with me, the part I want you to hear. She said, "I really thought I was falling apart." And she wasn't. She was just eating a breakfast that worked against her body, and nobody had ever taken the 4 minutes to explain it. That's the whole reason I make these. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right about now. You're thinking, here we go, another internet health fad telling me everything I've eaten my whole life is suddenly poison. And honestly, fair. You've earned that suspicion. You've watched eggs go from bad to good to bad to good again. You've been told butter would kill you and then told it wouldn't. So let me be clear about what this is and isn't, because I'm not here to do that to you. I am not telling you these foods are poison. I'm not telling you to never eat toast again or that a glass of juice will hurt you. None of this is about fear, and none of it is about banning your favorite things. It's about one narrow, specific, well documented thing: the speed of the sugar on an empty stomach first thing in the morning in a body that's a little past 60 and a little less forgiving than it used to be. That's it. Eat the toast at lunch with a sandwich's worth of protein, and you've changed the whole equation. The morning, alone, on an empty stomach, is just the moment your body handles it the worst. So this isn't a fad, it's the careful version, and you can fact check every word of it. Let me give you a fourth one because it might be the most insulting one. It dresses up as the healthiest choice in the whole store: flavored yogurt. The little cups with the fruit on the bottom, or the ones that say light and fruit blend on the lid. Here's the betrayal. Plain yogurt is a genuinely good breakfast. It's got protein. It's got those friendly gut bacteria. But the flavored ones, the ones we reach for because plain feels boring, a lot of them have as much added sugar as a dessert. Some of those little fruit on the bottom cups carry sugar that rivals a bowl of ice cream, sitting there with a light label on the front. And because it's yogurt, because it feels virtuous, we eat it on an empty stomach and feel responsible while we do it. Now, I want to be fair. I'm not going to tell you the exact gram count of any one brand off the top of my head because that varies and I won't fake a number for you. But if you turn the cup over and read the line that says sugars, a lot of you are going to be genuinely surprised. Here's the swap, and it's lovely because it's nicer than the thing it replaces once you get used to it. Buy plain yogurt, plain Greek yogurt if you can. It's got even more protein, and protein is the great slower downer of breakfast. Then sweeten it yourself with real fruit. A handful of those frozen berries again, a little cinnamon, if you truly need it, the smallest drizzle of honey. A teaspoon you can see is a world away from the hidden spoonfuls in the cup. Now you've got the protein and the gut benefit, the fruit and its fiber, and a fraction of the sugar. You're in control of the sweetness instead of the factory. That's swap number 4. And let me give you the fifth quickly, because it ties a bow on the whole thing, and it's less about a single food and more about an order. The mistake is eating any of these, even a better breakfast. Carbohydrate first and alone. Cereal alone, toast alone, fruit alone even, on a completely empty stomach. Because here's a small, almost free trick the research is fairly clear on, and I love it because it costs nothing and you can start it tomorrow. The order you eat your food in changes how high your blood sugar climbs. If you eat your protein and your vegetables or fiber first and let the starch come after, the same meal raises your blood sugar less steeply. It's the same food, same calories, just a different order. So the fix isn't only what you eat. It's leading with the egg, the yogurt, the nuts, the fiber, before you get to the bread or the oats. Lead with the slow stuff, and the fast stuff that follows behaves itself. That's swap number 5, and it might be the easiest change in this entire video, because you don't have to buy a single new thing. You just rearrange your fork. All right, let me be straight with you now, because I promised I would, and because the honest part is the part that's actually worth your trust. Here's what does not work so you don't waste $1. There is a whole shelf at the store of blood sugar support pills and powders and teas, and people will try to sell you those off the back of a video like this one. I won't. Most of them have thin evidence at best, and some of them are simply expensive urine. You do not need a supplement to fix your breakfast. You need oats and eggs and an orange. That's the cold truth of it, and it happens to be the cheap truth, which is my favorite kind. And here's the other honest thing. None of this is a cure for anything, and I want to be very clear about that. Changing your breakfast is not going to reverse a disease. And if you live with diabetes or you take any medication, none of this is a reason to change a single thing on your own. This is about the everyday roller coaster in an ordinary morning, the energy and the fog. Anything to do with your medication or your condition belongs in a conversation with the people caring for you alongside them, never instead of them. What I'm offering you is smaller and humbler than a cure. It's a steadier morning, but a steadier morning, day after day, year after year, that's worth an awful lot. That's being the careful driver instead of buying a lottery ticket. So here's your one thing this week, just one. I'm not going to ask you to overhaul your whole kitchen because that's how people quit by Thursday. Here it is. This week, pick the worst offender on your own breakfast table. You already know which one it is and swap just that one. If it's the juice, eat the fruit instead. If it's the cereal, switch to plain oats. If it's the toast and jam, put an egg or a smear of nut butter on top and skip the jam. One swap. That's the whole assignment. Let me say it again, slowly, the way you might want to write it down. This week, pick the one breakfast that leaves you crashing and swap it for the slower version. Just that one. Give it 2 weeks and pay attention to how you feel at 10:30 in the morning. I think you're going to notice. Maureen did, and she's a tougher critic than you are. And if I can be useful for one more second, if you ever find yourself wondering whether a certain food might affect something more serious, something in the cancer conversation, that's not my lane. That one I'll send you over to my husband's lab for. I keep to the everyday body, but I keep to it carefully. So let me leave you with this. You are not falling apart, you're being ignored. Handed a healthy breakfast and sent on your way with no one to explain why it leaves you on the floor by mid-morning. And we can fix that. You're not too old for any of this, and your body is not betraying you. It's signaling. It's been telling you something every single morning, and now you know how to listen. You have one body, you've carried it a long, long way, and it is still listening right back to you. Be good to it this week. Start with that one swap. Take care of yourself, and I mean that the way a friend means it. I'll see you next time. And tell me down in the comments which breakfast you're swapping first. I read these, every one of them, and I learn as much from you as you do from me.